Yep.
So my impression is, I think the notion of AR, VR, augmented is not really ready for prime time for education of students. It needs more work. I don't think you'd see a headset like that on, a 6-year-old who's too heavy, for example. It's just the whole notion that kids are going to walk around with that is just not true. Kids need to play with other kids, so there has to be some more science that goes into those headsets so that they have a lot of peer-to-peer communication, because that's how kids interact and make mistakes. So I think enclosing them is not the way we're going to educate the workforce in the future right now. So I just wanted to...
Yeah. So the question there is, yeah, kids need to play with other kids to grow up and learn. I don't know if you've seen what we're doing with High Fidelity. You're next to other kids. The whole point, you are exactly correct. Learning environments do not work at all without literally full body social contact. So for example, today with High Fidelity, you see exactly where the other person is looking, you hear their voice exactly, and you see their hands moving. Within 2 years, the next generation of these devices, the weight issues will come down a lot. I agree with you, by the way, with respect to that image, which I found online too, a rather comical one of such a young kid. My youngest is 9, so she can wear these things comfortably, but a 6-year-old certainly can't. I think there's a cutoff. But the most important point to be made there, which you're right about, is that VR is not going to work as a shared environment until it is completely social. So for example, eye contact, the full tracking of the eye saccades, is a very active industrial R&D space right now, and I knowing a little bit about this, one of the headset manufacturers is one of our investors. It's very likely that we're going to see full eye contact in these devices. And the experience already of having a bunch of people sitting in a circle throwing things at each other, which you can do in High Fidelity and other environments, is stunning. But you're right, we have to cross that bar. And probably some of this stuff's going to take another couple years, but we better start getting ready for it now, because there aren't laws of physics that prevent us from creating an active social environment for kids, for example, in VR.
Well, actually, I think technologies are progressing from year to year. So nowadays, there are already some good enough application scenarios for using VR in education kits. So for some of them, we might be already able to consider them as a sort of mature applications, and we can help develop some standards for them. But overall, yes. VR technologies will need more innovations to address many disadvantages and gaps that we still have today, and it's still far from perfection.
There's a question.
Please. Sorry, could you come? We don't have
this new presentation that the standard on the table include the standardization for preventing motion sickness or something like that.
Well, yeah, we haven't. You would know whether there's actually standards work out there on that. Motion sickness, of course, is a very material issue with respect to headsets. It's a super complex, interesting issue. We've been working on it a lot, but I think that's more of a question for the hardware companies to do.
Well, I was going to say too, from a Standards Association viewpoint, no one's proposed that yet. You can be the first one to propose that new standard, and you will sponsor it.
So my opinion is that motion sickness, so far we still don't have a perfect solution. Well, it's far from perfect. We don't have a solution yet. Many people, quite a few people, they claim they solved this problem from different angles, but as far as I know, still we don't see a really working solution. So that could be, I think at this point, that could be first set as a parameter or a criterion for various VR devices to differentiate from each other. Although so far we don't have perfect solutions, but some solutions are better than others. So that might serve as one of the criterion in terms of the VR performance. But maybe in the near future we can have some common solution. I personally believe light field has to be part of that, and once we have a common solution, that might be becoming a new standard, so that the industry need to comply with that to provide motion sickness-free solutions for the end users.
If I could just...
No, I was just going to add that I don't know, I don't remember. Somebody told me they saw something out on the CES floor. Was it you, Bill, who told me that? There was a company that was actually doing some work in that area, but I didn't see it.
I don't remember the name. I think it's in one of the CES videos. They highlighted it as, pretty unique, interesting, and new activity.
Yeah, I would also add to that with regards to standardization, as you described, with differentiating the different headsets and their capabilities, as an experimenter in this, using it every day, the biggest thing that differentiates motion sickness is the positional head tracking. I believe that if as an industry we can clearly identify the headsets which do not have positional tracking of the head, they would be a big step in that direction, because the great majority of motion sickness is induced due to the cheaper headsets, which at this point do not yet track the full position of the head, which is of course a massive industry research thing. But I would really salute, I find myself explaining to new users that how significant this difference is, and so people that have seen like the Gear VR are saying, boy, I really don't like this VR thing, and I'm saying, wait, this is not a position tracking headset. So it's a big difference.
This is, yeah, I see that, for example, the company Oculus or something like that. So the most important thing is to keep the security for safety for the motion sickness. So that will be a complex problem, but maybe the most important point for the developing the VR and AR standardization. I think so that should be take rather much time for the, but important point for the standardization, I think. Okay.
You mean for the safety of the users? Yeah.
Yeah, I would add to that. We ran a few workshops, trying to see different segments. Actually, this is part of the presentation we have tomorrow. But whether you're talking to a consumer purchaser versus an industrial purchaser, you get somewhat different prioritization. Most of the heavy industry, you mentioned some of the work we've done with the IEEE Industrial Society as well, has tremendous emphasis. Like if you're looking at that oil and gas, they don't if there's any safety concern, that stops the whole thing. So safety tends to be very paramount on any of these factory or heavy manufacturing type of things. So that is clearly going to be an issue to getting that widespread sales into large industry. So as soon as somebody gets hurt, that just stops the adoption.
There'll probably as a pilot, there'll probably be a thing about time delay between simulation versus real experience, especially for industrial applications, because one thing that's been shown, for example, in simulated aircraft trainers is that you can't, my dad was a Navy pilot, you can't allow the pilot to fly for a certain amount of time after they've used the trainer, because there are subtle differences between the trainer and the real aircraft, and they have to forget those differences, essentially, for some of the materials. So I wouldn't be surprised to see something similar in industrial applications where there was genuine danger. I mean, there's a massive amount of research and discussion going on the software side right now. I think you're correct. Aside from positional head tracking, there's a huge number of factors around For example, how you do locomotion, how you do movement through the virtual world. We're all trying a lot of different things right now. I wouldn't be surprised to see some degree of at least statements made that are sort of best practices around what you can and can't do. I would say, as someone in the middle of it as well, there's real complexity around this that we still haven't figured out yet. I think the models for why we become sick when presented with certain stimuli are okay, but they're certainly not done by any stretch, and so it's still a very experimental, document what you find kind of a situation. The only thing I'd say on the software side is the good news is you can definitely make people a lot less sick with the software, like a lot less, and so that's going to be interesting. But of course you can choose not to. And sometimes people often just like want to ride a virtual roller coaster. As an example, a virtual roller coaster will make almost everyone here, if you don't use VR quite a lot, immediately very ill, in the same way that frankly riding a real roller coaster for many people would. And so it's a complicated space. I'm not sure. At this point, it seems my own experience in our office has been that people's subjective experiences are so different that it confounds attempting to do that. Some people, for example, have virtually no motion sickness, and then other individuals, as adults particularly, are almost unable to use any VR stuff. That's a small percentage, but it's still non-zero.
Yeah, I'd like to echo that. So like some old examples, like for example 3D games, like the very traditional Doom, that game. So some people, well, a small group of people, they get used to that, so they have much higher tolerance than others. And some people, they will get sick immediately after they play that game. Another similar example is a 3D movie. So a group of people who can enjoy the 3D movie, they can stick with that, but some people, they just can't get used to that. So, but in addition, well, in order for VR to become a really fundamental game changer technology for many other industries, I truly believe we need to figure out some solutions for the motion sickness. So it will not be another technology just adopted by a small group of people, a group of hardcore fans. It should be adopted by the public, the much larger group of people. Any other questions? So if no, let's applaud again for our panelists. So thank you so much. And if you are interested in join our standardization efforts, drop me an email. And also there's a link for you to join the digital sciences community for free. So just take a look at that. You are very welcome to join our effort. Thank you so much.
Panasonic.